Hi everyone! Welcome again to my channel, Math is Fun channel. Again, this channel is an educational channel to help you understand your lessons and topics in mathematics. This will help you also improve your performance and skills in mathematics. That is so and sounds exciting, right? Yes, very exciting. And aside from that, this is very intended to those who are doing the online classes out there and those who are answering their modules. This is very helpful to understand and build your concepts about your lessons and topics in your mathematics. In mathematics, rather. So please continue to subscribe my channel and please do share this one to your friends out there, especially those who are struggling and who are in need of this video discussion. With that, you can help them improve also their skills in mathematics. And that is a very nice advocacy to help every people to love mathematics. That the essence of mathematics is not to make simple things complicated, but to make complicated things simple. So now let's proceed to our next video discussion, which is our next topic, which is about solving quadratic equation, but I will just limit on the square root property. So now let's have a very introduction for solving quadratic equations. So we all know that solving quadratic equations, as expected, you have how many roots? You have two roots because the quadratic equation is defined as the second degree of equation. That means the value of your x there or in your variable in quadratic, it has two roots or two solutions or two zeros. It's up to the term that we're going to use in solving quadratic equations. Sorry. So now many quadratic equations cannot be solved by factoring. There are other techniques are required to solve them. That's why we have to be familiar of the different methods on how we solve quadratic equations. So now let's have an example. As you can see, we have x squared is equal to 20. We have the quantity of x plus 2, close quantity squared is equal to 18. And x squared plus 8x is equal to 1. 2x squared minus x minus 5 is equal to 0. 5x squared plus 55 is equal to 0. Quantity 3x minus 1 plus quantity squared is equal to negative 4, so on and so forth. So these are examples of quadratic equations. So now in these examples, we can say that the quadratic equations have different forms or order, right? That's why it can be solved in other techniques or different techniques. So I want you to be familiar of those. So let's start with the first technique or first method on how or way on how to solve quadratic equations. That is using the square root property. So if according to the square root property, if b is a real number, and if a squared is equal to b, then we can say that your a is equal to positive and negative square root of b. Square both sides. That's it. That's a concept in the square root property. So now to highlight this definition of square root property, let's try to apply its property to a given problem in solving quadratic equations. Let's have an example. X squared is equal to 20. How do we solve this quadratic equation using the square root property? Are you ready? I know you're ready. Okay, so that is equivalent to positive and negative square root of 20 rather, by squaring both sides of the equation. And of course, that's according or following the square root property. So next, we can just simplify it as x is equal to positive and negative square root of 4 times 5. And we all know that 4 square root of 4 is 2. Then we have the final answer as x is equal to positive and negative square root of 5. Okay, so next, let's have 5x squared plus 55 is equal to 0. This can be solved using square root property. So you have it, 5x squared is equal to negative 55. Divide both sides by 5, and that gives you negative 11. So aren't you like isn't it weird to have a negative 11 on your right side of the equation? So yeah, weird perhaps. So that gives you x is equal to positive and negative square root of negative 11, or I, or x is equal to positive and negative I square root of 11. Why? Where is I? Where did we get I, sir? You are wondering, or you will be wondering about that one, because negative 11 can be factored as negative 1 times 11. So we all know that square root of negative 1 is I. It is an imaginary number. That's why we got, or we have the final answer as x is equal to positive and negative I square root of 11. Got it? Yes. I will just write so that I can highlight this one. This is what I said. That can give you negative 1 times 11. So of course, square root of negative 11 is, square root of negative 1, sorry, is I. We call it imaginary number. That's part of the complex numbers. That's why we have it I in here. Okay? So I hope you can follow. So now let's proceed. If, yeah, as I recall, square root property, if b, according to it, if b is a real number, and if a squared is equal to b, then a is equal to positive and negative square root of b. So to have this kind of example, as you can see, quantity x plus 2 closed quantity squared is equal to 18. This can be solved using the square root property, because you can square both sides of the equation. That gives you x plus 2 is equal to positive and negative square root of 18. We all know that square root of 18 can be factored as 9 times 2. So that gives us x plus 2 is equal to positive and negative 3 square root of 2. Then you can solve for your x by, yeah, by applying the subtraction property of equality, or you can just use the term transpose positive 2 to the right side of the equation, and that gives you negative 2 positive and negative 3 square root of 2. Yes, that's the final answer. Let's try to answer the next one. This one. Quantity 3x minus 1 closed quantity squared is equal to negative 4. So you can just solve using the square root property by squaring both sides of the equation. That gives you 3x minus 1 is equal to positive and negative square root of negative 4. Oh, this is negative 4, the right side of the equation. So there is also another imaginary number. Okay? So we can just write this one again. We can factor it out as positive 4, positive 4 rather, times negative 1, like that. Sorry, it's so hard to write parentheses. This negative 1. Okay, so that gives you I, correct? Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of negative 1 is I. So you can just have it 2I. Yes, exactly. 3x minus 1 is equal to positive and negative 2I. So we can solve for your x by, of course, you should have to leave x in your left side of the equation, on the left side of the equation rather. So transpose negative 1 to other side, or you can apply the addition property of equality. So you can just have it 3x is equal to 1, positive and negative 2I. And of course, you can divide both sides by 3 to isolate 3 in your x. So you can just have your final answer as x is equal to 1 plus and minus 2I all over 3. Or you can just have it, yeah, you can separate the denominator as x is equal to 1/3 positive and negative, or plus minus 2 over 3, or 2/3 I. So that's it. That's how you use the square root property. But in this case, we involve the imaginary number, right? So, of course, our next video discussion will be about completing the square. So we will just end up our discussion in here about square root property as a process on solving, or in solving quadratic equation. So in this topic, this is, of course, useful, very useful, especially when you have the form of x squared is equal to a. So it's very helpful for you to solve the quadratic equation in that form. So that's it. This topic is very easy, so I'll see you in our next topic or video discussion about completing the square. I hope you're going to continue to support my channel, and please share this one to your friends out there. Always remember, math is fun. Math is not a difficult subject, but it's easy, fun, and interesting. And aside from that, the essence of mathematics, as I repeat, it's not to make simple things complicated, but to make complicated things simple. So math is fun, and that is the magic of math. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.